What's up, people? It's another beautiful warm day in North Carolina, and the project for today, the original spot for the switch to turn the water on and off, if you look down under here, I believe it's this right here. This turns the water on and off with this electrical signal that comes from this switch, and it's often a pain when we're overworking at the back of the machine. You have to come all the way up here to shut the water on and off. To fix that, previously I've had this valve on the end of my pressure washer hose, and that's how I've been turning it on and off. But over time I've started to feel like that's putting some wear on the pump. Whenever you shut it on and off, it's a very violent pressure change through the system. So I'm thinking what we're gonna do now is I'll take that valve off there, and I've already pulled the switch out of the original location in the front. I'm just gonna relocate it back here on this switch panel where there's already a couple blanks. I popped one of the blanks out here. I've got the water on and off switch, and basically I'm just gonna run some 2-wire from here all the way to where the old switch was. Just gotta to wire up this end here with the original plug. This is the plug that was on the switch to begin with, so I'll connect these to my long 2-wire and just reconnect it here, and theoretically I should be able to shut the water on and off from the back of the machine. But I'm gonna make a little bit of progress here and then check back in with you guys in a minute. A few minutes later, I've got the wires ran roughly. I haven't popped the switch in yet because I want to make sure that upwards is the on position and down is the off position. So don't have any of these zip tied in yet, but I went ahead and made the connection up here with the original plug. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing started up and see if we have function from the back over there. Now we've got all our wires tucked away and all the connections made. Got our switch here at the back now. And then it runs up here. I haven't put it in any type of loom. I think I'm actually gonna run a piece of conduit down this rail or maybe inside this rail for all these wires, because I've already added 4 different wires coming from the back to the front. So maybe a piece of conduit will be a little more beneficial in the long run, but I can always go back and add some loom after I run that through there. But got the extra wires tucked away there, and it just plugs right into the factory switch location. So pretty pleased with how that works. I'll make sure to add in a clip of it working for you guys to see. But another idea I have is using this switch. I don't have the work lights on my machine, but I'm going to use this switch for our transfer pump that goes from tank to tank, and that's going to be the next project I'm working on. I've got another one of these wireless remotes just like I used for the winch, and I'm going to figure out a way to be able to turn our water on and off using a remote. Unfortunately this isn't going to work just plugging it straight up, because when you press this signal, the signal is only sending as long as you're holding down the button. So I need either a different style remote, or I need a special relay that when I hit this, it opens up the current and keeps it open, and then when I hit this, it closes the current and shuts it off. So I'll have to do a little more research on that. I'm not exactly sure what it's called, but once we get that together, I'll be making sure to make a video on adding a remote to our water control. I think that's just another thing that'll make quality of life that much better while working on the machine. But next step on the menu, I'm going to start wiring power for our transfer pump coming out of here, going to this switch, and then send the power over here where I'm going to mount the pump on that little brace that you can see sticking up. So I'll make a little progress and check back in with you guys here in a minute. A little bit of thinking later, I think this is the method we're going to go with. My original plan was to mount it on the brace right here, but I found out the new hose I bought is much too small for our fittings to press inside. So now I have to decide whether I want to get new hose, which is not cheap, or use the existing hose that I've already got and change the location of our pump. So I made a little piece of wood that can go down on the floor there just to kind of support the weight of it a little bit. It will sit on those braces on its own, but I figured this was the next best thing. And now we have a little bit of extra storage. It's not super strong. Maybe I'll throw a 2x4 underneath there for a little bit of support, and then we can throw chains in here, or even these chocks, whatever we want. But I'm thinking either like this or maybe like this. So the tank side comes in right here, the flow of the pump is going that way, this one goes to the machine, and then the water from the bed of my truck will come through this hose right here into there, and then we just got to run power from there to this switch that I'm planning on using for the time being. But yeah, this is what I'm thinking so far, but I guess we'll find out as the night goes on. Okay, it's the next day now. I've got some paint on this piece here that I decided to add in for the pump to sit on, and I just marked a few spots underneath. I've got 2 braces, and I'm getting ready to drill the holes so that we can hold this thing down and then get that transfer pump mounted on here. So we'll check back in just a minute. Now we have our box mounted, the hoses ran how I'm thinking we're gonna do them. This one here I may have to lengthen maybe another foot or 2 just so it has enough to comfortably reach into our tank in the bed of our truck here. But I'm really pleased with how this is going. This box was only about 10 bucks at Harbor Freight, but it's got this little strap so you can hold the lid on. Pop that off. I've got the box secured to the deck here so it can't move. The pump is secured on the inside of the box through these rubber isolators, so it still has the ability to move around a little bit. But I think all that's left is I'm gonna have to run a new power cable probably out this same hole here, and I'm just gonna electrical tape it to the hose to keep it nice and clean, and that'll run around here into our battery box on that main fuse panel, or I guess you'd say the accessory fuse panel that I put in on one of our last projects. But yeah, we'll get back to it. After a little bit of head scratching and a little bit of work, I think we've got it in the way it's gonna stay right now. I've got the battery box off just so I can show you guys how I made those connections. But power wire for the pump runs down there with the hose up under the machine, and then comes back up right here, one of these bunches. I split the 2 wire in half. I got the ground coming over here to a good ground location, and then the power wire comes up to the back side of this back side of this switch that was already here for the work lights on and off, but I do not have the work lights, so I'm stealing this switch. But then let's see, so the wire comes from the pump to the switch, and then from the switch over up through here to the fuse box that I mounted in one of our last projects. I've got a 20 amp fuse in there for now. On the front of this little pump, if you guys can see, it reads 19 amps max, so 20 I guess would be a safe bet, and luckily enough I had one laying around. So as you can see, Got this hose here. It's going to be coiled up inside of this little storage box when we're not using it, but when we're ready to fill up our small tank from our big tank in the back of the truck, hook this up to there, and then you can come over here and hit this switch. And as you can tell, it's making some suction right here, ready to pull in water. So I guess I'll go ahead, get all the tools put away, get the battery box put back on, and that'll be a wrap for the day. We are losing light quickly, but I got everything all buttoned up and the tools put away so I can give you guys a look at the finished product. I'm super excited to have this extra storage up here. I'm thinking it'll be the perfect spot for one of our fire hoses or something like that. Anything that's heavy that won't really fall out while we're going down the road. I'm gonna have to come up with a little way to fasten this down, whether I'm just putting something heavy on top of it or what. I'd hate for this hose to go flopping out and then we're dragging it down the road on our way to the job site. But yeah, like I mentioned before, connect that hose to the tank in the bed of our truck, and now it's as simple as coming over here and flipping a switch. Of course, I've got the machine turned off. Turn that back on. You might be able to hear the water sputtering over there at the tank and the pump making some noise, but very pleased with how this went. Got this switch wired up on the first try. I wasn't really paying attention to the colors too well, but since there's no labels on the switch itself, if you get it wrong, you can just flip it 180 degrees and then you're in the proper position. But yeah, I'm running out of ideas for new projects on this thing. Can't think of anything else off the top of my head. Something I'd really like to do in the future, I need to talk to a fabrication shop, but I'd like to get a box made that will come up here and cover this entire area here. That's what you see on some of the diesel units. It really helps to cut down on the noise. Only problem being this motor is air cooled, so the front of the box would have to be perforated to allow some airflow so this engine can keep itself cool. But it would be easy enough to extend that air intake up outside of the box itself. The box will just kind of have to come up to this level right here, so this hose will come out of the top as well, and we'll just have to relocate the muffler. But I'm thinking that'll give me some more room for some of these electrical projects I've been taking on this thing. I'll have a lot more options as far as mounting, and hopefully it will cut down on the noise a little bit, even though we're gonna have to leave the front section open for airflow to the motor. But that's one of the ideas I'm cooking up on now. I'm hoping it won't be too expensive, but yeah, I think that would be something super cool to kind of set this machine apart. I've got another idea for grabbing that cheap little spray gun from Harbor Freight and a couple gallons of Rust-Oleum black so that I can actually paint everything that's orange on this machine, being the battery box, the belt covers, and the tank itself. I think that would be super cool and unique to have this thing blacked out, and we can get the double H logo put there on the side of the tank. But let me know what you guys think, what the next project should be, and we'll go from there. But I appreciate you guys watching. If you've watched until this point in the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe down there below. But thanks guys, I'll talk to you later.